I don't really know what emotion to display right now. I'm excited, I'm happy, I'm confused, I'm worried. I had to give myself 5 minutes to collect myself, and I still don't have any collected thoughts. One of the most consistently great artists of our generation is deciding to drop another project today. It is out. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. This might kill me. Heart Part 5 dropped a couple days ago, giving us a bit of insight into where Kendrick Lamar's head was at the time of his recording that track. Don't know when it was recorded, but it showed a pen with a lot of poignance. It showed a pen with a lot of depth. It showed a pen that hadn't fallen off despite years of not crafting work that was leading toward an album. You're here for it. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers from Kendrick Lamar. First track is titled United in Grief. It is a double album like we all kind of predicted. Let's hop into it. Why are you doing that already, bro? Why are you doing that already?
I've been going through something.
Oh my God.
Be afraid.
I am. I'm scared.
What is a bitch in a miniskirt? A man in his feelings with bitter nerve. What?
Bro, it's here! It's here! Ow, my side. Fuck. I miss when I used to be able to yell and scream at Kendrick Lamar bars without getting a cramp in my side. Now I'm old.
What is a woman that really hurt? A demon you better off killing her. What is a house with a better view? A family broken in variable.
That's what it feels like when I listen to his music. It's like it's on display at an art museum.
I wanna get me a therapist. I can debate on my theories and sharing it well. Consolidate all my comparisons. Popping the bottle with Claritin. Wow. Is in my head or my arrogance? Wow. Bought a couple of mansions, chef for practice. 500.
I love how he maintains lyrically. There's this understanding of this lack of peace and serenity even after removing yourself from your previous situation. Basically, Kendrick is saying he's going crazy. Despite all this attained wealth and this fame and the opportunities, he even mentions one part in this about being able to change the scenery of what his family sees, basically. Problems don't go away, your issues don't get fixed. He's going through it, and he don't have an answer.
I was 9 when they put a mud in the grave. Heartbroken when it's still the insecurities locked down on PC.
I don't know if he's chastising himself for buying these things, or if he feels that it was just such a vapid experience looking back on it that they really never added to or took away any of the grief that he mentions running throughout this track. How it distracted him from it for a moment, but it didn't ultimately end up doing anything. And then he says, you know, even watching Keem spend his money and buy these materials and buy these possessions and shit like that. Yeah, I like the musical backdrop for that track too, a lot. Piano was a really consistent theme throughout. That was a really strong foundation for me. I loved him rapping over it. His flow was really good. He's still in top form from what I can see. I feel what he's saying in that there are these repressed emotions that go overlooked that you often only get an opportunity to process and assess once you're in a moment of silence or you're no longer around chaos. Track number 2 is N95. I'm assuming this is about the masks. Please, Kendrick, do not fuck this up.
Take off the cloud chase, take off the Wi-Fi. Take off the money phone, take off the car loan, take off the unsure, take off the solutions I like. Take off.
Oh, okay, I get it now. Wow, I actually like that. I don't really love the instrument. I don't love his flow right now. Like his vocal inflection right now, I do not love. I'm not a fan of it right now. But what he's actually saying is, you know, remove the mask. Not the mask, but the mask. You know, what are you hiding? What is it that you need these materials in these what is it called? In these designer clothes and these designer brands? What is it that you are masking yourself with, and why? And how many masks are you wearing? I get that. I like that. I just connected it. Nigga said take off the Wi-Fi. Nigga, no.
I'm done with the sensitive, taking it personal, done with the black and the white. Hurry up, boss. Serving up a look.
Shit, oh my God, I thought I was on Twitch for a second. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like this song. The concept, I get it. That's cool. I fuck with the premise that he's going with for this track and just removing the masks from people altogether. I think that's great. This song, okay, I'm not gonna say it's ass. It's not hitting right now. Conceptually, thematically, I get it. That's perfect. But like sonically and with Kendrick's voice combined, it sounded a little goofy.
Homies ejecting the fence when I'm breaking. Look at my reaction, my pupils on skates. Holla. What the fuck is council culture, dog? Say what I want about you niggas. I'm like overdog.
Bro, there's no way this is real. Kendrick Lamar cannot be the tier of rapper right now that is acknowledging cancel culture. That's not what this is, right? That's not what's happening right now. I'm assuming we're good. Sometime he miss. It's okay. I'm not tripping. Worldwide steppers.
Kodak Black.
Wait. What?
Enoch is the part 2. When I inspire my children to make higher valleys. In this present moment, I saw that through. Writer's block for 2 years, nothing moved me. Ask God to speak through me. That's what you hear now.
It's hitting me more like, you know, very intimate setting as opposed to you're supposed to play this for entertainment. I still like it. Don't get me wrong, I do. I still like this sound. I like the ideas that I guess it's trying to convey.
I said I might be racist. Ancestors watching me fuck was like retaliation. I'm a killer, he's a killer.
He did not unironically just say that.
The industry has killed the creators. I'd be the first to say.
I guess it's just Kendrick going on about how no one should take the moral high ground because we all have some level of contribution to the world's state, I guess is what he's trying to propose, even though I don't think that's true. And there's definitely corporations and people. I get what he's saying to a degree, but I don't think it stands when you really, you know, look into what it is that he's arguing. But again, this could just be Kendrick Lamar at an earlier stage in his life, because the flow here definitely sounds reminiscent of his earlier work, you know, that overly dedicated Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City era voice that he would go with when he was rapping. It sounded very reminiscent to that, so maybe he's speaking from that perspective and he doesn't think that way anymore. Next track is Die Hard. I'm feeling like Blxst really dominated for that hook for me. He made it a really enjoyable record. But I can't get the feeling that Kid Cudi would have really brought some real power out of that track. Personally, I think Kid Cudi would have worked so flawlessly on that. Kendrick, I'm really getting the baby Keem out of him right now. I'm really getting the, you know, vocal inflections, the style, that kind of vocal expression and that freedom from him. Not to say that Keem doesn't have obvious influences from Kendrick, he does, but it is a bit, it's surprising, I guess, to see the influence come on in that way. I was really uninterested in this track. I didn't get much out of it. It was a nice track, don't get me wrong. It was cool for I would say like the background. Kendrick has this opportunity to reflect on his life, and he's thinking about the things that he used to do, the things that he regrets, the things that have brought him pain, the people that he's lost, and all while trying to progress and keep the family and the loved ones that he has with him right now closer. So again, content-wise, I think it's a dope track, but musically, I don't think it ends up tying itself together in an entertaining way or in a way that makes me want to come back to it. The way the track ends up coming off just kind of bland. But we got a lot of room left, okay? This doesn't mean it's the end. The next track is Father Time featuring Sampha. I'm so excited to hear from Sampha again. Drop the album, bro. It's been 5 years. Where you at? You just as bad as Kendrick. They stepping. I hear him on stage. What vocal sample is he using in reverse, and why does it sound fucking amazing despite it being in reverse?
Mama said that boy is exhausted. He said go fuck yourself. Oh, this the part where mental stability meets talent. Oh, this the part.
Oh my god. Sampha. Yes, I needed this. All you fatherless niggas, this is for you. I'm talking to myself too, though.
Get my emotions, never express myself. Man should never show feelings. Being sensitive never helped. Kanye got back with Drake. I was slightly confused. Guess I'm not mature as I think. Guess I'm healing to do.
Okay, look, this is great. This is actually great. I already know that's not gonna be the end of that bar. That's not gonna be the end of that bar. Cause how do you come back from that? Whatever. Anyway, this track is great because it shows all of the toxicity that Kendrick has received in some of the teachings from his father, despite his father's presence. You know, and I think a lot of people underrate how a parent can negatively impact a child even when they are there. How it doesn't just have to be you don't have a father or you don't have a mother, and then this is why you are the way you are. Like, you could have very well been raised with both parents. That isn't to say that you prefer an absent father as opposed to the teachings or the negative teachings of a present father. It's just to say that there is still so much to be broken down. He talks about understanding your emotions, understanding your feelings, understanding when you're hurt, when you're in pain, when you need rest, assess damage to yourself. The want to be perceived as, acknowledged as masculine overrides the needs of the human at that moment. Sampha's hook here, his hook game here is great. I love his contribution. I like the instrumental backdrop too. So that line about Kanye and Drake isn't just to be like, oh yeah, like what the fuck are these niggas doing? Just reinforcing Kendrick's understanding that those teachings from his father still negatively impact him to this day.
Learn shit about being a man in disguise, so that's being gangster. They can't stop us if we see the mistakes.
Yeah, that's my favorite track off the album so far. Father Time is spectacular. Rich Interlude.
With man, the chain in the box getting pink. Nigga shit when you sleep. And the show got graded later. All the game came from the elders, like, hit me down. Me and my
I like this track because we take an example like Kodak Black just to show that even the most popular figures are not unable to be affected by the things that Kendrick Lamar is speaking about. So the product of the rap that you see, the rap game that you listen to, a product of that is essentially what Kendrick Lamar was talking about in being raised to believe that this is what a man is supposed to be based off of what our society has been for hundreds of years. So the product of what you're seeing now is just a product of what they've been taught. A Kodak being used as an example right after talking about all the things that he took from his father on the previous track, I think is great sequencing. Next track is Rich Spirit.
To a song. Stop playing with me before I turn you to a song. I'm attractive. Keep fucking with you no more. I'm fast.
I like the bounciness. The bounciness is very West Coast.
That brother. We dress up the score. Give me that brother.
I like this track. Definitely feel like some Vince Staples inspiration here. I would have loved to see his take or even a feature from him on this song. Rare to see Kendrick so easily flow into that, you know, regional style of music for the West Coast. So for me, I think that's nice. I think his voice fits really nice over it. Next track, We Cry Together. Oh shit, like some Griselda shit.
Confrontational ass dumb bitches. You wanna bring a nigga down? Act like your shit don't stink.
This is like for free on Griselda. That's it. This is great. They're just having an argument. Gotta have a music video.
You must be bleeding in some more shit. But y'all know I know when you being distant.
Wait.
I know when you...
That's Taylour Paige. I swear to God, that sound like Rico Nasty. I never noticed how much they sounded like.
You niggas, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Oh my God, this give me like, okay, so like, I feel like, you know, most people have had that kind of argument, but also at the same time, it like references the poetic justice truck scene where they just yelling "fuck you" back and forth. The fucking baby boy shit where they're just going back and forth. I feel like this is just gonna lead into them fucking.
But you was sucking this dick though.
Well, shit,
That's what I'm saying.
What you say?
I should have. You the reason Harvey Weinstein had to see his conclusion. You the reason R. Kelly
I
kept.
think nobody has ever said that, but I understand why Kendrick is having the arguments being thrown into this track to acknowledge that there is a dismissiveness that men play. You know, he's putting a lot of responsibility on men on the record so far, especially if we look back and you go to Father Time and he talks about all the toxic traits that he picks up from his father, and then you go into Rich Interlude where Kodak is basically a product of that, dismissing her emotional rant as like a that time of the month type thing. Now they're both having an argument right now, of course, so they're both contributing. I mean, she's saying some fucked up shit, he's saying some fucked up shit.
Fuck me, nigga.
I'ma fuck you, bitch.
Nah, fuck me, nigga.
Nigga, that better be basketball. I hope that you don't fuck. I don't want to hear that. I really like the emotional delivery of Taylour Paige. Like that was really good. I really fucked with her contribution to the song. It added a lot. And Kendrick, you know what I'm saying? Very, very what is the word I'm looking for? Very distant. I think it's despondent. But I think there's a lot that could be said about, you know, the toxicity of both arguments. But I understand why everything that was said was included. Like, I understand that. And it makes for a great track. It's very entertaining. It's a very entertaining cut. Definitely one of my favorites off the album so far. Purple Hearts featuring Summer Walker and Ghostface Killah.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, baby.
Okay, so I'm feeling like the beginning of this record was more of a transitional period for Kendrick, where he gets into this space of acknowledging his own negativity and his own toxicity. And
did dirt, smack death, and held it to that nigga Cabbage. Love.
The highlight for that track was Summer saying, "If it ain't love, you don't eat my ass." Something about eating her ass. I love how that kind of you know, the first half kind of culminates into Kendrick coming back to a more loving state. Now we're about to start the second part like side B. Count Me Out. Yo, he really like Kodak. What the fuck they got going on? Why do I feel like I've heard this? I've heard this before because it was the first part of the fucking album. This voice in the beginning is saying, I hope you find some peace of mind in this lifetime. And then Kendrick goes on to talk about how he doesn't have any peace of mind really at all. I don't know. Let's see what Count Me Out is saying. Oh, he's in a therapy session. He's literally talking to his therapist right now. I think he's talking to his therapist.
Wipe my ego, dodge my pride. Look myself in the mirror. How many feel ain't seen that scarier? The emotion been deprived. Even my strong points couldn't survive.
I'm gonna be real with y'all though, right? I like where this album is going narratively, but musically and flow-wise and Kendrick Lamar and the rapping and the cadences right now, there has not been one track, and I will say this with confidence, there has not been one track that is even at the level of Damn. I like everything right now. I'm gonna be real with you. Some of the concepts on this are great. And this is a totally different album, so I hate like comparing them in that way, but I mean it in the sense of like overall replay value and entertainment. I would rather read this album than listen to it so far. But we're only halfway. And it could really just explode from this point. But we already through side A, we enter in side B. I love Kendrick Lamar just like y'all love Kendrick Lamar, but I'm gonna be real with you. This is not hitting. Let's move on to track number 2 is Crown.
Like everything is in control. Faith now can change with the seasons, and I can't please everybody.
That's a fact. Musically, again, I probably wouldn't come back to this track, but narratively speaking, kind of speaking about being underappreciated and all his efforts being lost and forgotten once he decides to, I guess, have self-care. Speaking about how there's going to come a time where I won't be able to do what someone requests of me, and everything that I've done up until this point will be lost and forgotten, despite how consistent I've been, despite how much I've been there. He also goes on in this track about how the new possessions and the buying things isn't going to fix the issue. He's just going to find something new once that gets old. So it does tie all of it in together. We just gotta hear more music to hear where he's going with it. Track number 3 is Silent Hill with Kodak again. Okay, I like that. That's your ride.
Push off me like hood. Push these niggas off me like hood. Pushing the snakes on.
Nah, bro. I can't let you get away with it. I can't. You Kendrick, but you can't get away with it. You're not him. You Kendrick, but you're not him. You're not him. This some shit for Cardi or Keem. Like you can't get that off, bro. It don't sound good coming from. I'm sorry. I love you, bro. I love you, but it don't sound good coming from you, bro. It don't. Like what the fuck? I still listen to it though. I still listen to it though. Like it'll ride. It'll ride.
Money, dog.
No, I'm infected. Fuck. That sounds awful, but I'm infected. All right, that was definitely like a Baby Keem-esque track that I feel like he may have had a bit more charisma on, but the track was still nice. It flowed. I can listen to it. I can play it. It's cool. I feel like Kendrick is loosely tying the narrative together, but still keeping it together for the most part. That's a track. Savior Interlude. Okay, I got you.
Your sense of identity.
God damn, nigga, a 2.5 minute interlude. Just call it a song.
And you develop a sense of self that is based on the bad.
I put that on anybody but my mama. She showing the pattern for certain. I think more condoms.
Minimum condoms? Hold on, what?
Cousin in the courts heard he jumped off the porch, turned a brick to a Porsche. I'm good, love.
That shit hard as fuck. Turned a brick into a Porsche? Fuck, that's hard. I mean, that's bad, but it's hard.
Suicide doors, suicide, Lambo body.
Keem running this shit right now. The opening interlude is interesting because I don't really know if Kendrick is trying to insinuate that in order to be the best version of yourself, you have to rid yourself of those things that you were victimized to. There are certainly conversations to be had about people who derive a sense of self from the things that happened to them when they were younger, or the things that were traumatic that happened to them. And there is a fine line between acknowledging those things, working to move past those things, and living in that moment for the rest of your life. It's a case-by-case basis, though, so it's not something that just can so easily be applied to every person. Baby Keem ran that track, though. You can always get me with some string instruments, and he did that. So moving on to Savior, the actual track with Baby Keem, Sam Duke, and Kendrick. Let's go.
Kendrick made you think about it, but he is not your savior. Cole made you feel empowered.
Oh my God. Now I know where you're going. Okay, I'm gonna like this because you niggas are so fucking annoying. Every time a rapper does anything that hits you emotionally, all of a sudden, he the next coming of Christ. He the next one up. God ordained him. He's protected under he's protected under the fucking leadership of Allah. Like, bro, it is a rap song, and I'm not saying you can't be impacted by it, but that is all it is. If you relate to it, cool. I'm glad. That's what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to speak to you. But you don't know this nigga. He don't know you. He's not your father. He's not your mother. He's not your friend. He's not your God. He is a musical artist, and that is it. Lower your expectations. So when there is this overreaction to these people doing these things in any capacity, and I understand to some degree, it's understandable why you would be shocked or why certain offenses are a bit more reactionary than others. But for the most part, stop being so shocked when these people, fall. JPEG Mafia said it best a long time ago when he dropped All My Heroes Are Cornballs. And countless other artists have already told you the same thing about dehumanizing them. I haven't even heard the track, and I went on a rant right now, and I don't even know if that's what it's going to be about fully.
Future said get a money counter, but he is not your savior.
I don't do that. Future is my savior. Money counter was the best thing I ever did in my... All right. The money counter still ain't fast as me.
Wait a minute.
Oh my God. This is what I wanted the whole album. Still love every rapper calling you dumbass niggas out for that dumb shit you did for the Blackout Tuesday shit, posting the black squares. If that's what he's talking about, I want every rapper to keep shitting on all the niggas who did that.
But are you happy for me?
Okay.
I'm out the way. Are you happy for me? Christians say the vaccine mark of the beast. Then he cut COVID and prayed to Pfizer for relief and started to question Kyrie. Will I stay organic or hurt in this bed for 2 weeks?
Oh God. Hold on, bro. Please. Hold on, Kenny. Hold on, Mr. Morale, chill. It took me so long to understand what the fuck this bar meant. At first, I thought it was Kendrick being anti-vax, and then I thought it was Kendrick shitting on Kyrie. Now I'm in a place where I feel like he's relating this to the Heart Part 5, in which black people or people of prominence mean much to the black community. So when Kyrie says something, it's almost as if it's a God saying it to an extent, and people listen because Kyrie has influence. So I feel like he's saying, then I caught COVID and started to question Kyrie, the same way Christians would begin to question God, and then they would take the vax when they start experiencing really harsh symptoms. So I took it as a nod to Kyrie as someone with a lot of influence, and someone who means a lot to black folks in general. And I like how it advocates for Kyrie's free speech without necessarily saying that Kendrick agrees with it.
Collective conscious. Calamities on repeat.
Are you happy for me?
Smile on my face,
But are you happy for me?
the struggle for the right side of history. Independent thought is like an eternal wind.
Sam is killing these background vocals. Holy shit, he is going crazy right now. So, this track is kind of about Kendrick just like understanding the people who pass themselves off as compassionate and wanting to help don't actually have the common everyday person's best interest at heart. And I find some of those qualities in people that have those either think pieces, or though they market themselves as people that are almost like socialists to a degree, and their lifestyles or their values are very opposite. They live very opposite what they preach. I do get to a degree the shock to Kendrick's system and how he would rather be secluded doing his own thing. And I can't speak to the causes that he donates to or contributes to that give him rest at night. I just think it's a little too easy to come at the things that are wrong in the world without offering what you do to combat it. It's not as simple as just, oh, these people don't really do what it is that they say. They're not living the way that they are, and leave the conversation at that, essentially. It'd be like me saying student loans are incredibly predatory. It'd be like acknowledging that predatory fact without at the same time discussing a potential solution for that, like preventing the educational system from being able to be predatory in the first place and just making education free. Kendrick's arguments in this could be valid from his perspective, but I just don't see how protecting his soul in the Valley of Silence is doing anything for any of the things that he's been talking about for his whole discography. But maybe that's what gives him solace at this point. Maybe just being away from it and not acknowledging it is giving him more mental clarity and more peace than constantly going on about it and seeing no change, like he was kind of referring to on the Heart Part 5. Let's go into Auntie Diaries.
Heart plays away. My auntie became a man and I took pride in it. She wasn't gay, she ate pussy.
Bro, what the fuck is this song?
She even cut my hair at the pad, was loving my face.
This is another track that I have a bit more of an understanding of. There are a few little subtle details that Kendrick mentions that I think are so subtle that even people who are not trans or gay could kind of learn from in understanding their like internalized homophobia or transphobia in these instances, because Kendrick purposefully doesn't acknowledge his aunt as gay, and instead he just says and describes to his friends that she eats pussy, because in his mind still gay is just still such a bad thing, so he'd rather not acknowledge her as that. He also kind of tries to humanize her later on in the track by acknowledging, since she's the first person that he saw rap, he alludes to the possibility of him not even being an artist if it wasn't for her. You know, it's actually kind of forward thinking of Kendrick Lamar to call his auntie a man. I don't know if he's unintentionally acknowledging what gender expression is, assuming she said that in the first place, which I don't think she did.
We know no better.
Nigga.
I recognize the study she was taught since birth, but that don't justify the feelings that my cousin preserved. I chose humanity over religion. You can say it together, but only if you let a white girl say nigga.
Oh, what the fuck is happening? This very much so reads like I used to be Rob, the leader of the clan. I used to be the leader of the clan until everybody has a different trigger. You know what I'm saying? Everybody has a different trigger. So for Kendrick, it could have been that. It's about hypocrisy and Kendrick coming into the realization that you can't say these words because I have words and triggers that I don't want other people to say. The song. I understand where Kendrick is coming from. I truly do. But let's use his logic for a second. If he's saying the F-bomb would be cool to say if black people were barred from being upset at white people saying the N-word, then this argument falls flat on its face. Because if there were a white hip-hop artist, right? Let's say Jack Harlow. I don't want to use him, but let's say Jack Harlow tomorrow, for the sake of exposing the fact that he used to be discriminatory against people for the color of their skin. Let's say for the sake of that song, he used the N-word 3 times during a hook. How would black people respond to that, despite the fact that his point in making the song is to say that it's wrong to use that type of verbiage? Black people would get him the fuck up out of here. And I don't think that Kendrick understands the privilege that he's using in this case to describe trans and gay people. I understand that he's not trying to say this is what they are, and I know he's not trying to be insulting. He doesn't realize it though. The point of the song is that it's not okay. That's the point of the song. Even when you say this word to reinforce the idea that it's not okay, that doesn't make the use of it okay by default. And I know how I would feel if I saw a white hip hop artist using racial slurs to prove a point. So when you make the point that your cousin pointed out your own hypocrisy by poking a hole in the logic of you being mad at that white girl for coming up and saying what she said on that stage that day, Kendrick being able to say this on a song and have people I know who are most likely defending his use of it because, oh my God, it goes with the point of the song. How could you be upset? How could you be offended? Him being able to say that and be defended is an example of the homophobia that he's against in this track. I think the track is great from a conceptual point of view, and him understanding some of those subtleties that he used to communicate with to his own family, and how he's enlightened to the point where he chooses his family immediately over anything else, any dogma, any religion, any space, any deity. But that's still nasty. It's nasty work. Let's call a spade a spade. I didn't feel like all that needed to be said, because the main point that he was trying to drive home was just basically, I have things that offend me, and now I know how it feels when you have things that offend you. Like, it's pretty tone deaf to an extent, and it's also indicative of Kendrick Lamar being isolated for so long. If this is the perspective that he has this late in the game, like, Kendrick isn't trans, he isn't gay. I don't really want to hear him talk about that, to be honest. But, you know, that's what he decided to do, and that's what it is. Mr. Morale is the next track.
Your father should detox my calling is right on time. Transformation, every thought is creative. Sometimes I'm afraid of my own. My diamonds, the joker is heavy. More life to...
Bro, what the fuck is going on? I feel like I'm in the Matrix, bro. Am I living in a dream? Is that for real?
Spirits awaken, my brain is asleep. I got a new temperature. This is way too heavy. My diamonds, the joker is heavy.
I feel like there's some shit Kanye would attempt and would really nail it sonically. But yeah, I mean, let's go with Mother I Sober featuring Beth Gibbons.
Transformation, you ain't felt grief till you felt it sober. But no one believed me when I said he didn't. Frozen moments, still holding on it. Live my life in nature, only thing believes me, spirit God.
When he started really writing that pen and shit like that, none of that cancel culture bullshit. Like, this is when he in his element. No pun intended.
Recommended some therapy. I asked my mama why she didn't believe me when I told her no. Amplified as I write this song. I shiver cause I'm nervous.
This song is power. Jesus Christ. Is he... I don't want to make it about me, but like, this is music what you relate to, bro. Like, this shit is hard. This shit is tough. And I love how in the beginning of this track he's talking about how sensitive he is. Like, that's another thing that he can tie back into negative teachings from his father, because he was taught not to really sit with those feelings and those emotions. You know what I mean? Being a sensitive individual isn't a bad thing, and it was definitely made or used as a negative connotation for most young men when they were growing up, me included. Knowing how you feel about something is just not a bad thing. You know, when someone punches you, you feel hurt. When you stub your toe, it hurts. You bite your tongue, it hurts. Your senses are there to just for you to acknowledge how you feel in the moment. You don't have to react to how you feel all the time, but acknowledging that you feel a thing when you feel it isn't some like dysfunction. It is a normal and healthy part of a regular functioning body. I love how he's going on and talking about how the trauma is almost hereditary. That trauma is almost like infused in the DNA. It ties into the lack of resources available to get that assistance, and just how sometimes someone else's push, someone else's encouragement, that other hand is what you could use in order to get yourself into a more favorable position, to get yourself in a healthier position. Because he's basically saying if his mother had not recommended this, he wouldn't even be attempting it. And that comes off the back of her not even knowing what happened.
Even as victims in the public eyes who pledge allegiance, every other brother has been compromised.
And I also hate that now that he's talking about it, I hate how, I'm about to go on a bit of a rant, but I hate how, for the most part, you got a bunch of white liberals that like to attach themselves to black trauma just so that they can come up off of it. And that really fucking annoys me. I don't want to hear your explanation or your thoughts about it, because it's not happening to you. It didn't happen to you. I get why some of the things that he said before this as it relates to culture, he did say. Even if I disagree with some of the other shit that he said.
Start to pass judgment, know how we move, learn how we cope.
Anybody but myself.
Thank you, Mommy. Thank you, brother.
That felt like shackles being removed. And the final track on this Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers album is Mirror.
Fall short of your graces. This time I won't trade places. Blink twice again, I'm gone. I chose me, I'm sorry.
Okay, I like the final track because we get Kendrick basically breaking free of those shackles from the previous record and all the revelations that he goes into on Mother I Sober, I believe the track is called. And then here we basically have him feeling a slight bit of remorse, but still deciding on himself over the relationship that he's talking about right now. But at the same time, that relationship, I feel like, is a metaphor for his audience, for his fan base, for the people that he's made accustomed to the conceptual weight that he's burdened himself with for the past couple years. And while I definitely don't think that this album stands up to his previous records conceptually, I do like how freeing it seems for Kendrick, because it doesn't appear as though he's putting himself under that massive level of weight here that he used to. That's what I felt like he was kind of crippling under the weight of on Damn, and unintentionally supported on To Pimp a Butterfly. People leveled these weird expectations on him from that point and beyond. And simply because he had a revelation at a point in his life and he made a pretty incredible album out of it, people expected him to carry that for the remainder of his life. And if he didn't, then his records and his releases from that point would essentially be failures in comparison. So I'm glad that he is looking out for himself and he's choosing himself. As it pertains to the quality of this record, I do not think that there is a single record off of this album, for the most part. There are some very deep, very impactful records that really go into Kendrick Lamar as a person, his psyche, go into his trauma, go into his thought process, specifically the records where he's arguing back and forth with his lover, the record where he's acknowledging his own trauma on Mother I Sober. The last record, obviously, is a very freeing track, and the one with his father where he's talking about all the toxic masculinity traits that he picked up while he was being raised with his father in the household, to prove that an absent father isn't always the worst father to a degree. This album is definitely being treated like a bit of a therapy session, and I do like that Kendrick Lamar is being so open and vulnerable on a lot of these cuts, and being unapologetic about living in his peace and in his serenity. I'm thinking that he feels more empowered to do so based off of a culture that he also criticizes on this album. I do find it funny when artists criticize the way the culture is shifting without highlighting the positive things that it's brought to people's lives. I do understand how overzealous a lot of people can be when there are controversies around artists and around public figures, but I do think we can be mature enough to acknowledge the good and the bad of these things without necessarily trying to shift it all into one space or area. This is something that would not have been a thing 10 years ago. And it's indicative by the way Kendrick Lamar used to write. If this shift in culture would not have happened, he would not have been as unapologetic about taking this absence or this peace as he is. I highly doubt it. These things being so openly talked about, these communities that are being created, these spaces that are being offered to people are giving them a chance to release that stress, release that pain and that burden, release those things that have been held up in captivity. And that place in captivity is oftentimes the person's heart, the person's mind, and then it comes out later when they're in a place of peace, which is why Kendrick is coming to us telling us, after all this time, I'm finally getting hit with all this trauma. That's because you're in a space away from the noise. And we have a space now where it's becoming more normal for people to get that therapy. It's becoming more normal for people to get that help. It's becoming more normal for people to have these spaces and these conversations. But that is in part to the culture. It's not just, oh, niggas canceling people. It's some of that. Of course, it's some of that. Some niggas just, oh my God, you made a mistake? Shit, it's over. I never want to hear from you again. But there is a very large group of people within that same demographic, within that same age group, within that same range that are advocating for people to release that trauma, for people to get that assistance and that help. In terms of writing, I would also say this is probably Kendrick Lamar's weakest. I didn't get many memorables, much quotables. And I get that. This is a very personal record for him. I feel kind of strange for even requesting that he write it in a certain way. It's a bit of a fetishizing of someone else's trauma. I've always had that kind of back and forth with myself whenever it comes to critiquing a record. What right I have to tell someone to describe their trauma in a certain way so that it comes across as more appealing to my ears. But I definitely think that he's had stronger writing in the past. The record, like I said, it seems very freeing musically speaking. If I'm just being true to my own tastes, there isn't a single record, even with the highlights that I'm acknowledging, that comes even close to the level of entertainment that there was on Damn. Personally, To Pimp a Butterfly, Good Kid, Mad City. I honestly think this is probably Kendrick Lamar's weakest project from a musical perspective. That's no diss, that's no hate. It's still a listenable record, and it's still a record that I appreciate from the point of hearing his perspective, because Kendrick is an artist that we expect something new from every record. So I'm glad that he's in a different space now. The song that he made for the LGBTQ plus on this track was nice. I appreciated the perspective, and ends up doing more to highlight his growth than it does to highlight how awful people generally are to people of that demographic. Though it's not geared towards me, so, you know, there's probably a gay creator that'll give their perspective on the song, or a trans creator that'll give their perspective on the song that y'all can hear a more valued opinion about that from. Outside of that, the rest of this album feels like a bit of a blur to me. I definitely need to give it a couple more listens, but I'm not gonna have myself, you know, going on these like mental gymnastics is just to consider a Kendrick Lamar record listenable or good. If I don't think it's that great, I'm not going to call it that great, and I don't think it was. This is coming from an avid Kendrick Lamar fan. There may be a concept tying this whole thing together that is going over my head, which is possible. Off first listen, I don't feel like that's the case. It just feels like a very personal record to Kendrick, and I love that he's in that space. But yeah, that's how I feel about this record so far. I'm interested to hear your perspectives, hear what you have to say about the record. I'm underwhelmed. I'm underwhelmed, but like I said, I can see that he's different completely, and that's just a change as a human that I can appreciate and respect. Y'all get in the comment box, let me know what you thought about it, and I'll see y'all in the next one. All right, peace. We'll talk about this again real soon.